Welcome to the year 2021. Many have suggested that the hands of the clock are nearly at midnight. Your world is industrialized, and no doubt your truths are scattered. But wait, unbeknownst to the tyrants, a single plant has started to unify the smartest minds in our world. But that is cannabis present. Let's talk cannabis future. I have the pleasure of being joined by Provisional Air, or is it Ariana Newton?
A little bit of both, whatever you prefer.
Well, with that introduction, brings us to our first dichotomy, something that not too many people can speak to, but you're an artist and also involved with cannabis at a platform level. Has that been a benefit, an artist in the business world, or is it more ambiguity?
Yeah, it really depends on how much you're willing to put yourself out there on, a separate scope from cannabis and art. Luckily, cannabis, art, and music, it's all a lifestyle culture collaboration. So you are constantly meeting a lot of people that, have that same energy of creativity. And so I think it's really great for pushing the boundaries. But if you're not willing to put yourself out there, it's definitely not going to be, you're not going to get really anything from it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and take some risks. And that's typical for the life of an artist. I know you kind of know that a little bit.
I have, well, to quote Cher, to do anything great, you have to be willing to make an ass of yourself, right?
Absolutely. And this community, I think, is a better community to do that with, because there is less judgment. There is more of an open-minded perspective. Typically, if you're running into someone that is consuming cannabis, they are on this journey of self-discovery. So it's kind of nice to be able to chat with like-minded individuals as I grow as an artist and try to figure myself out in my life as well.
Well, let's start with the artist. What medium do you work with? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so this is kind of fun. So the whole provisional word that I use in my name kind of stemmed from my ability as an artist to use really any medium. I was really excited to be able to practice, use facilities that I had never had access to. My main mediums currently are painting, some found object 3D work. I love sculpture, casting, and then kind of working those into like abstract pieces. So I'm kind of all over the place, hence the provisional, which is what I really like about that word, is that it's all temporary. I don't think that I need to close myself off into a box, and I don't think anyone else should either. So that kind of helped me be okay with the fact that I wasn't just going to be an artist of one medium. So yeah, painting, a little bit of 3D. I love printmaking. I don't mind ceramics, but having access to facilities for that kind of stuff isn't always super common, at least for me anymore, now that I'm not in school. But there's still plenty of that stuff going around. So it's just a matter of getting yourself out there.
Artist, pardon me, /activist. It appears you've created a hashtag along the way too. Would you care to speak on it?
Yes, absolutely. So Canna for Climate was such a cool initiative that WeedTube powered. It was really powered by hundreds of content creators on WeedTube that wanted to enable this day to kind of break that stereotype of what it means to be a stoner. So 420 is obviously our stoner holiday, and everyone, has a different way that they celebrate. Some people get really fucking high. Some people just kind of like enjoy the industry. There's always a good chance to gather and garner some of that community piece and aspect. But with 422 being Earth Day, and then kind of the shift of perspective in our industry of focusing on more sustainable practices, whether that be with, our growing techniques, our lighting techniques, water consumption, all across the board, packaging, there's a lot that is very wasteful. So I think that while we're changing this perception of like what it means to be a stoner, just being a productive member of society and being able to consume cannabis could also tie into something a little more exclusive to Mother Earth too, and being able to kind of use this day, Canna for Climate, in between Earth Day and the stoner holiday, to just kind of get an early start on like giving back to Mother Earth. Not that we're not doing that every day already, But some people don't, and some people need a day to be able to like focus and hone in, and that collective energy again, of like multiple people kind of riding that same wavelength energetically across the world, I think is super important. And I think that's why we have kind of holidays like that. So it was cool to kind of get this trending, get this going. It did get suppressed. We had hundreds of content creators posting about it. And then, yeah, Instagram had a whole suppression bit. We wrote a piece about it in the Green Entrepreneur, but it was still really cool to get it started. And we're excited to kind of keep rolling with it each year and grow it into something bigger than what it currently is. You know, Canna for Climate can mean going to your community and cleaning up, but it also can just mean implementing small things in the daily life that you weren't doing before, whether that's composting or planting or, you know, taking care of a garden. I think there's a lot of different ways that people can use the day to just enable what they're already doing and talk about it. You know, people don't want to talk about how they're helping the earth, but it's like that's the best way to educate other people on how to do it best as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword a little bit with, you know, media and the internet. But I say if I'm going to come online, like I want to talk about things that I'm passionate about. And I think our cannabis community is passionate about the climate. So
Word. Nice hashtag. Nicely done.
Thank you.
You mentioned Instagram. I don't know her, but I do know platforms. You mentioned WeedTube. Would you care to elaborate?
Yes. So WeedTube is basically a cannabis hub for long form content, very similar to YouTube. As a creator, you can go on there, create a profile, and start curating your own content. As an advertiser, you can advertise obviously to a targeted market audience of cannabis consumers. So it's kind of a unique dichotomy there, but really it stemmed from this issue with censorship, right? YouTube in 2018 was deleting hundreds of cannabis content creators talking about cannabis, educating, doing challenges, unboxings, reviews, tagging brands in their descriptions, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of created this huge issue when YouTube went and deleted people's videos, deleted their channels, kind of took away the opportunity that they had to educate and talk about different brands and products, which I think is essential in our current market because there's so many products that aren't great. So the more we can be able to talk about them openly online, I think the better chance we have at saving people from harming themselves. I mean, that's just kind of a whole battle with that. But yeah, so WeedTube is working to kind of grow out, become more of a social hub with, you know, feeds and story journals and all that kind of stuff that would be great to go along with long form content. But currently it is catered to long form content. So if you're sitting down and doing a review, if you're talking about cannabis, this is the safe place to do it. But it's not just cannabis, you know, we are open to any and all content. I upload art content on there. There's I think 26 different categories of divvying up the content. So it's just really finding your place and where you feel comfortable and then kind of jumping off from there.
And of course, if you're asking, does Cujo have a WeedTube? Yes, I do. And I can vouch for that because there are some action figure videos on there. Good hunting.
Okay.
But you're not only a WeedTube user, you're also involved in the platform. Am I right?
I am, yes. So when I first met the WeedTube crew, I was coming out of Montana, so we had a med program, but I was a closeted stoner. So for me to be able to kind of see some of these people online talking about their consumption use openly, like it just created a whole new perspective for me of how I could talk about this plant as a means for healing. And I didn't always look at it that way. You know, Montana has huge issues with all sorts of like drug problems and things like that. I grew up in the DARE program, so I was definitely super conservative with how I would talk about my cannabis use. But when I moved to Colorado and I met a lot of the people that were involved in this platform and saw what they were doing and how they were, you know, enabling this global audience of people to come together and talk about what cannabis looks like where they're at, I was like, yes, this is exactly what we need. And this is the only place I feel comfortable uploading to talk about it. So it was cool. I just slowly started integrating and then working with the platform to find, you know, new products, cool innovations, stoner gadgets to kind of bring on as advertisers for the users to see and kind of catch on to some of the newer things that are going on out there. And then as well as just like teaching myself how to edit, produce, do all of that as the journey continued and progressed. And now here we are, and I do it all.
Here we are. I do want to talk culture, but I might save that for another day.
Sure,
Introductions. You know me. I'm Cujo. I do roll with the LBCA. That would be the Long Beach Collective Association out of Long Beach. Who are they? Only the oldest cannabis trade union in California. No biggie.
Wow, I had no idea.
So I think what you have is a couple folks who are maybe not new to cannabis, but definitely looking for new conversations. And those happen to go down at places like MJBizCon, which you attended. Let me ask you first what that event is and why you were there.
Yeah, so MJBizCon currently is one of the biggest B2B cannabis conferences. A lot of people do go there to network. Obviously, there's a vast number of growing operations, growing equipment, kind of that side of the community, but there's everyone there. So it's interesting. I like Vegas. I think a lot of people don't necessarily, because there is a different culture about the way people interact when they're in Vegas. So I understand kind of some of people's hesitancy going there, especially as a woman. It can be pretty difficult, but MJBizCon is the biggest B2B conference. So if you are looking to get in, if you're looking for equipment, if you're looking for connections, it's a good place to go and do that. So that's why I was there, of course. MJBizCon was interesting this year. We came off of a year and a half of being kind of cooped up without events and totally thrown into this mass production of everyone in the industry coming back together. So that was exciting. I think there was a lot of good, fresh energy from that perspective. I would say there was also a lot of not so great things that went down. And I think because of people's inability to interact after not interacting for so long in these settings. So I think there was like a lot of good that comes from MJBizCon. But as a more, I would say, not like an outcast or outsider, but kind of a separate piece of the cannabis, conglomerate. It is very corporate. MJBizCon is very corporate, and that's cool. A lot of these guys don't even smoke weed though. So
it's interesting.
It's interesting. And that doesn't go across the whole board, but as a woman, you kind of experience these trade shows in a different light. A lot of the cannabis industry, especially at that CEO, CFO, executive, managerial level, most of them are men. So my women had to come together, which we always do. MJ Biz did a great job of kind of being able to highlight women in cannabis, and also it was probably one of the most diverse trade shows I have been to in a while. So we're growing in that aspect for sure. It was definitely fun to see and interact with that community of people that's like never here.
I think it's worth mentioning that you did a great interview with Stoned Appetite.
Yes.
The podcast. That was a great interview. Apparently there's other good cannabis media out there.
Thank you for listening. Yeah, no, Kip was a lot of fun.
Nice. Cheers, man. We'll drop a link to that, of course. Let me just ask you, like in 1 or 2 seconds, or 1 or 2 sentences rather, your view coming from MJBizCon, the culture, where's it at? Is it corporate? Is it ready to listen? What is it,
I think the easiest way is you can find the people you're looking for if you're looking for them, but it is very corporate. There's a lot of people that are there though for the right reasons, and they want to talk and they want to listen. I think you just need to go out of your way to find them. For me, at least as a woman, I'm more often approached and taken less seriously just because of probably my age and my appearance in Vegas. I had multiple articles I read actually of like women getting sexually harassed there. So it's just, it's still like that portrayal of our industry and what we want our industry to look like. We're not just women walking around to get our ass smacked. Like we're there to do business too. And we don't want just a seat at the table. Like we want to be talking at the table. And I think we're kind of working towards that.
Well, tables don't get any bigger than this platform, of course. Well, let's end it with some MJBiz centric content. I believe it was Derek Smith, cheers, who wrote an article for your platform saying it's time to make the industry of cannabis sustainable. Now, I'm not sure if you're privy to that article, but let's save it for another conversation. What's one way cannabis can be more sustainable right now for you?
Okay, yeah, great question. I think the biggest thing right now is figuring out better packaging laws. I think people are making great waves towards sustainable packaging, but the child-proof packaging problem has caused an issue, I think, with a lot of people that are trying to figure out what packaging to use and how to integrate it into their facilities on a reasonable budget. You know what I mean? These people aren't starting out with all the money in the world, and the money they do have is going straight back to the government because they're pumping them dry through their licensing programs and just all the loopholes you have to jump through. So I think trying to figure out more ways to be sustainable with our packaging is like problem number one. I can't tell you how many times it's one joint I'm getting and I'm taking it out of a glass tube, and then out of that I'm unwrapping plastic, and then out of that I'm just definitely that's a huge one.
No, that's an insider thing to say, because I completely agree. Being out here in California, it's one of the biggest problems for smaller businesses is they're constantly changing things like anyway.
Yep. No, same in Montana.
I'd love to talk about Montana in the future, but let's just end on a high note rather. How do you enjoy consuming, and what strain's hitting for you right now?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so I am more of a bong girl. I like flower. I don't mind concentrates, but I'm a flower girl at heart. So that is probably my favorite way to consume. And currently, I've been smoking quite a bit of sour diesel. I've just been enjoying that high, enjoying that ride. I also love sour diesel. Anytime anyone has ever like cooked with sour diesel, I just feel like not a big lump of crap afterwards after eating all of that food. So yeah, that has been definitely one of my favorites. But I'm a gelato girl all the way. I love gelato and Blue Dream for sure. Two of my other favorite strains as well.
You lost me at Blue Dream. For some reason, it gives me a headache. But I will say that sour diesel solved the world for me. I know that's nebulous, but let's roll with it.
Not at all.
Just before we head out, drop some social media. Where can people run you down? Obviously, we'll drop you in the details.
Perfect. Yeah, you can find me at Provisional_Air on almost anything, and you can download the app for WeedTube on Apple and Google Play stores. Just the WeedTube. Usually, you have to type out the whole thing to get it to pop up, but it is there and it is ready for you.
And this, of course, has been your Cannabis Future. Thank you, Ariana.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Cheers.